Harold and the Purple Crayon is a 2024 American fantasy comedy film directed by Carlos Saldanha in his live-action feature-length directorial debut, from a screenplay by David Guion and Michael Handelman, based on the 1955 children's book by Crockett Johnson. Combining live action and animation, the film stars Zachary Levi, Lil Rel Howery, Jemaine Clement, Tanya Reynolds, Alfred Molina, and Zooey Deschanel. It serves as a sequel to the original book, with Harold growing up with his magical purple crayon. After he draws himself off the book's pages and into the physical world, Harold finds that he has a lot to learn about real life. Produced by John Davis in association with TSG Entertainment, the film premiered at Culver City in Los Angeles on July 21, 2024. And was released in the United States by Columbia Pictures through Sony Pictures Releasing on August 2nd. The film received generally negative reviews from critics, and has grossed $11.2 million at the box office, against a budget of $40 million. Harold, a young boy who lives inside of a book, can make anything come to life simply by drawing it, with the help of a magic purple crayon, such as his two friends Moose and Porcupine. When Harold grows up, the narrator, who he refers to as Old Man, mysteriously disappears one day. Harold decides to draw a door into the real world to go and look for him. Moose follows, with Porcupine getting left behind for a short while, before being separated from the other two in the real world. Harold draws a bike that he and Moose, now a human, ride to look for the Old Man, who Harold believes is his father. Terry, the mother of an imaginative boy named Mel, accidentally hits Harold and Moose with her car. Terry finds a puncture in her right front tire, to which Harold draws a new one while she isn't looking, much to Terry's confusion. Mel convinces Terry to let Harold and Moose stay for the night, and they are hidden in a room above her garage. That night, Mel secretly invites Harold downstairs and the two bond. Harold breaks off part of his crayon and gives it to Mel. The next day, Terry informs Harold and Moose that they have to leave while Mel goes to school. When the two do leave, Mel secretly joins them to help look for Harold's father. The three go to a library where they meet Gary Natwick, a librarian who is struggling to pitch his overly complicated idea for a fantasy novel, and has a secret crush on Terry. The three ask Gary if he can locate Harold's father on a computer, but they find no results due to their information on him being too vague. When the three leave, Harold draws a plane and uses contrails to display Terry's phone number in the sky, asking Old Man to call the number. Gary sees Harold draw the plane, and recognizes the book he came from. After Terry receives several calls at work from strangers, she then receives a call from the school that Mel was involved in a bullying incident, and must return home immediately. Harold and Moose find Terry at work, the latter of whom assigns the duo with filling in for her, by moving boxes in the storage room. The two get bored after 6 minutes of working and enter the shopping area to help in other ways. They cause chaos, which results in Terry getting fired, in which Terry soon gets over it due to hating the job. Harold, Moose, Terry, and Mel walk into the town square, where Harold draws a piano for Terry to play. Harold found out in the garage that Terry secretly wanted to be a pianist. Afterwards, Gary meets up with Harold and Moose, and shows them the book they came from. Harold sees the author's name on the cover, and realizes that the old man he was searching for is named Crockett Johnson. Soon after, Harold and Moose reunite with Porcupine, who is tackled by cops, due to having previously broken into a house and stolen a leather jacket. The three are arrested, but quickly break out when Harold draws a wrecking ball to break the prison wall. Later on, Porcupine draws a car which they drive to Crockett Johnson's house, only to find that he has died. Harold is distraught, and everything he drew begins to fade away, including Moose and Porcupine. Alone, Harold soon meets up with Gary, who convinces Harold to give him the crayon. Gary uses the crayon to imprison Harold in his office, and cosplay himself as a warrior from his fantasy world. Mel arrives and is quickly imprisoned too, but frees himself and Harold using the crayon piece Harold gave him, restoring his happiness and everything he drew, including Moose and Porcupine. They encounter Gary in the town square, who is using the crayon to create his fantasy world. Harold and Gary fight for the whole crayon, but Gary swallows Harold's crayon piece and absorbs its power, using his hands to transform the grass into molten lava. Mel uses his imaginary creature Carl, who he drew earlier at school in a desperate situation, to make Gary spit out the crayon piece with a little help from Moose and Porcupine. Everything returns to normal, and Harold draws Gary a door into his world, so he can literally live out his fantasy. Gary enters before the door is burnt down by Carl. In the aftermath, Harold, Moose, Porcupine, Terry, and Mel visit a museum of Crockett Johnson's work. After Harold discovers why he was created in a note left by Johnson, he, Moose, and Porcupine return to their world, with Mel handing Harold a pack of Crayola multicolored crayons when saying goodbye. My kids were excited to see this because they both read the book when they were little. I wish this movie was getting more attention because it is adorable. It's a great, kind-hearted family movie that stays true to the spirit of the book. We have also seen Garfield, If, and Despicable Me 4 this year, and Harold is by far my favorite. It moves quick enough that, even though the story isn't all that complicated, it keeps you engaged and laughing. I smiled through the whole thing. Zachary Levi is a perfect Harold. I can't imagine anyone doing a better job. He hits the perfect balance between innocent imagination and a love of fun and adventure. He did such a great job. We all genuinely enjoyed this.